Welcome to the next installment in my video lecture series in economics. And in this particular video lecture, I'm going to be taking a look at the concept of opportunity cost. And this is an important concept in economics, as it's one of the things that distinguishes it from elements in the discipline of business. In particular, for example, the opportunity costs are included in cost calculations by economists, but they are ignored by accountants. Accountants do not include opportunity cost when they calculate costs, while economists do so. So it's an important concept to understand in economics as we move forward with this video lecture series. So I'd like to provide a little citation here to make sure I give appropriate attribution to any information that I use in this particular presentation. So anything that I have that is in quotes in this video lecture series comes from Principles of Microeconomics, Case Fair and Oster and Pearson Publishing, particularly the 12th edition. So they define opportunity cost as the best alternative that we give up or forego when we make a choice or a decision. So this is important to remember, that any time you make a choice or decide to do something, there is opportunity cost associated with doing this. The example I oftentimes give is, let's say a friend of yours decides that they want to take you out to dinner. And let's say that the dinner lasts for 2 hours. That time, that 2 hours that you spent at this free lunch, free dinner, even though it's technically free, you're not paying the cost. There is an opportunity cost in going to that dinner, because that's 2 hours of your time that you're giving up, and you can't engage in other activities while that's occurring. So you can't be at work earning wages while this occurs, or you could be engaging in any other activity. So make sure you realize that even if something is offered to you as quote unquote free, there is still an opportunity cost associated with that if it entails you taking time in order to engage in that activity. So let's take a look at two different ways we can look at this. We can look at the perspective of me, the content creator. We could take a look at the perspective of the viewer. As a content creator, me creating this particular video, it takes me a certain amount of time to do a little bit of research, create the keynote presentation in Apple products. To do this, recording it, coming up with a script, a very minimal script in most instances, because I sort of like to do things off the cuff. But there is time involved in me putting this actual presentation and recording the video. So from my perspective, the time that I spent creating the presentation and recording the video is the opportunity cost of my time. I could have been doing other things instead of creating this particular video. I could have been working at consulting work, and the opportunity cost there would have been the foregone wages I would have earned by doing that consulting work. I could have been doing any number of things. Could have been watching TV, sleeping, spending time with friends and family, planning a trip in the future, etc. So from my particular perspective, the time and effort that I put into this, there's an opportunity cost associated with it, because the time that I used to do this is no longer available to me. And the opportunity cost would be the best alternative, or the highest value of my time associated with the time I used to put this particular video together. From your perspective as the viewer, we can look at it in a similar vein, in that you're spending time watching this particular video. You could have spent that time doing other things. You could be working on homework, you could be playing video games, going to the movies, etc. Any number of things that you could be doing. Maybe you could have been working instead of doing this, and getting a wage to compensate you for that time. That's what you forego by engaging in the activity of watching this particular video. Sometimes it's helpful to give this as a monetary example. All right. So let me give you this example here. We have two different products that, let's say, I could have purchased. I could have purchased the beer on the left-hand side for €5, or I could have bought the meal on the right-hand side for €10. So let's take a look at and see what would be the opportunity cost in terms of beer by my purchasing this meal for €10. Well, if I spend €10 on that particular meal, that's €10 I don't have available to purchase beer. So by purchasing this meal for €10, I forego purchasing and consuming two beers. So the opportunity cost of the meal on the right is equal to two beers, because that would be $10 for two beers, which is the equivalent of the $10 that I could have spent, the $10 I could have spent on that beer when I'm spending that euros on the meal on the right-hand side. So the opportunity cost of this €10 meal is equivalent to two beers worth €5 apiece. Alternately, we could look at it from the other perspective. What's the opportunity cost of purchasing one beer at €5? The opportunity cost of purchasing that one beer would be 1/2 of the meal on the right-hand side. So make sure you're comfortable with this, as the notion of opportunity cost comes up frequently in economics. As I said previously, it's what distinguishes the study of economics from fields in the realm of business. Specifically, accountants do not include opportunity cost in their calculations, where economists include that in their calculations. So make sure you keep that in mind, the importance of opportunity cost when you are studying economics. It's an important concept. It's something that students oftentimes forget about or get confused about. So make sure that you're comfortable with the concept of opportunity cost moving forward in your studies of economics.